Welcome back to Nancy and Nicole. Real life, real talk, the stories we tell ourselves. Today, we're talking about perfection. More importantly, letting go of perfection,
Amen.
right? Oh, geez. The things I haven't done because it wasn't quite right, AKA perfect. And the things I thought were perfect, only to 10 minutes later think, I would have done that totally differently if I could do it over. Like
Isn't
it's
that
a little bit,
crazy? Yeah.
yeah.
So, because this is always where I start, did you have influences early on in your life around what what good enough was so that led you to have sort of some perfectionistic tendencies?
This is a good question. I'm gonna say yes, which then I feel like I should follow up with a specific
You don't
story.
have to.
Don't have.
You don't have to. You can just say yes.
Okay, good.
Leave
Yeah,
us wondering who was it?
it's perfectly imperfect is the story of my life. But yeah, wanting to, and it's a fine line because we talk about wanting to have integrity with whatever we're doing, to do our best, to do our best and give it our best shot. All of the phrases and the stories. And at what point are you sometimes doing your best is just that, it's your best, but we all know in the moment, or I've had moments where I'm like, "Look," I talk about this with my kids all the time. I'm like, "Look, this is the best I got today, boys. Like, I realize there could be more, but this is the best I have for today, specifically for your dinner. Like, if you want me to call for pizza, that's fine because I'm not a very good cook. Like, this is the best I got for you. If we
I
wanna do
love
pizza, I'm also open to that."
I love it.
But
I have some very specific points of reference that I think fuel that for me. One was my paternal grandmother. She was a critical woman.
Mm,
She was critical of my dad. She didn't like my mom. She was really hard on us kids. So there was a tone of that early on. But I think part of it was I was a total people pleaser as a student in elementary school. Oh my God, my identity was so connected to wanting to be the teacher's favorite, which meant you had to be doing everything and doing it perfectly and doing it right. So there was a good bedrock of perfectionism and overfunction and people pleasing there. But then it got totally challenged in my late elementary school. Isn't it funny? At 64, I'm still referring to when I was freaking 10 as a
stories
defining
get
moment, but it was
thick.
when I started to play sports, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved playing sports. I played all the seasons. Thank you, Bellevue Boys and Girls Club, for giving me a outlet for all of that, and then later in junior high and high school. But I wasn't a great athlete. Um, and I definitely did not have any discipline about becoming a better athlete. And even to this day, when I go watch sports, I'm always struck by these people are having a potentially a bad day at work in front of tens of thousands of people,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people watching on TV. I was not good at like, just shake it off. Like, so you missed the shot, you missed the thing, you flubbed up on the field, whatever. Like, just shake it off and move on. That perfectionistic, people pleasing, blah, blah, blah. Like, the sporting piece was really where my trying to be a perfectionist. I don't think that is very it didn't work for me in that context.
Mhm.
And I have not really most of my life thought of myself as being perfectionistic. I would say in the last 15 years, it is super clear to me the places where that comes up. Part of it is in contrast to my family, my daughter and wife, not my siblings. Chapins are sort of on good enough duct tape and baling wire, sort of get shit done. Totally got that from my dad. But Leah and Molly are so perfectionistic in a more left brained, organized way that I always thought, oh, that's what being more perfectionistic looks like. And I'm not that. So I must not be perfectionistic. That is not true. Um, all you have to do is look at, in particular, my business. I think that's where it comes up the most for me. Which
That
is
you're not.
also probably tied to me being a first grader in Mrs. Skibo's class trying to, be a people pleaser.
Yeah. I grew up being a people pleaser too. As we're talking about this, I mean, my mom, I wouldn't define her as a perfectionist, but nothing was ever good enough, which I think is another way of being a perfectionist, right?
Yeah.
Anytime anybody did anything, it's like, yeah, could have done it better. It's not quite to my standards. Nothing was ever to her standards, but whatever. Um, so so yeah, and it's interesting. I definitely don't classify myself as a perfectionist as an individual, but I know when I am nervous or under stress, I
Mm.
default to perfectionism as a reason to not do something or hold myself. Like it's not
Oh,
perfect, not whatever. Like one of my favorite phrases is, done is better than perfect, meaning getting something out in the world, having a
yes.
having a clunky conversation is better than not having a conversation at all. I- you know, Doing a social media post is better than like having it not be exactly the way I wanted to, or the pic, whatever is better than just hiding in the corner. All of the things. So I use it as a scapegoat, I'll say, because I am not inherently a perfectionist. I am
No.
definitely you did your best, whatever you got is good enough. I appreciate the effort kind of thing for both myself and the rest of the world. So but I do default there when I am feeling insecure. Um,
Interesting.
I use it as my reason to not do something.
Yeah. It is where I stay stuck with being really inefficient in my life. Actually, the best current example of this is so I have for Jesus, 15 years been doing video long before all the technology and social media
Mhm,
made everybody be doing video. And I learned how to edit stuff, kind of super old school on
mhm,
in old, what feels very antiquated software at this point, always digital, just to be clear, not like film strips. But that being said, I have over edited and like a listing video or a what's nearby, like neighborhood overview, like 10 best things in West Seattle or whatever. Oh my God, I would spend such a ridiculous amount of time getting it just the way I wanted. And then realize later, like, oh, wow, great. 10 people saw it or 100 people saw it or what. Like, it was like, wow, the hours invested in that to the ROI, totally out of whack. And then more recently, as we've started doing the podcasts and we're doing editing on software that now will give you a transcription and you can edit the text and it will make that edit in the video file, which is awesome. But it also, there's AI driven stuff which will automatically grab the clips for those of you who wonder how people do all that stuff. But I don't tend to I mean, we've had this conversation. I'm not a big fan of how AI cuts up these conversations to create
mhm,
clips. However, for the a number of hours it would take for me to generate a clip that I feel really good about, does that make any sense to spend that time versus utilizing an AI clip that's good enough,
mhm,
probably gets you to 60%. I really want to produce something that is at least 80% of
mhm,
where I want it to be. Obviously, I always want everything to be at 100% of, oh my God, that's exactly how I want it. But sort of where is that trade-off of good enough? And I haven't figured it out yet, just so everybody knows. In the world of editing this stuff, I'm still trying to figure out what feels good enough. Absolutely. I am trying to in the things that I know I'm super perfectionistic about. And it's funny, it's mostly around creative marketing stuff, photography,
mhm.
video, all those things that I feel like somehow are an expression of me and how I see the world, or I'm not sure what it is. Like, how much of that could I dial back to 80% and it is still head and shoulders above what either A, some other person is doing. Again, why am I comparing myself to them? It just should be what I want it to be. Ooh, can you tell I have sort of a lot of energy about this?
Yeah, that's stuff to say. I like it.
It is a big topic for me.
Well, and it's okay.
No, good.
Interesting too, because especially as we're talking about creative things, things that interact with other people, right? Whether it's us having a conversation or doing a post or a video, all of these things. Sometimes my version of perfection, like, man, I nailed that message, does not land with the rest of the world. The rest of the world does not feel my perfection in this moment.
So
So,
true.
right. And I don't know if it's a right, wrong thing. So it's tricky when you're not creating in a vacuum.
Mm,
let's say. I could organize my closet and say it's perfect because it's my closet and it's just me. I don't
yeah.
have to interact with the rest of the world on it. But as we're
Mm,
communicating any form, what is perfection? Because what might be perfection for me may not be perfection for the person on the receiving end of whatever I just said.
yeah.
So, how do we weight things? And it is tricky. And that's, I was alluding to that earlier. I always try to run it through the filter of what is the question I always ask is, what do I want the person on the receiving end to think, do, or feel as a result of whatever I've just said, especially when it's like a talk or a post or something like that, even this
Mhm.
podcast. What do I want people to think, do, or feel as a result of this? I want you to be gentle with yourself and realize that perfection is not a thing. Spoiler alert for the specific episode. Whether or not you get that, though, is up to you. And I'm going to articulate it as best as I can in this specific moment, knowing that life is all about evolution and we could have this exact same conversation tomorrow, next week, or next month. And I would actually say it differently. I'm going to say it the
Mm,
best way I know how today,
yeah.
nothing to do with perfect or not. And just know that I'm going to be in a different space the next time I have this exact same conversation. And I might have different examples or use different words. Does that mean this is less perfect? The other one is more. It's about honoring that. So, and it's tricky because perfect is a pervasive word in our language, in our society. We're supposed to be
Yeah.
perfect. We think we are. Maybe, um, but what is perfect? Who knows, right? My definition is different than yours.
One of the things that I have been aware of, Nicole, having been a participant in your masterminds in the past,
Mhm.
that cohort of 10 of us meeting every month for 2 years,
Yeah.
that the ahas that I have in around a table with your facilitation, like that pivot for me is exponential. And as far as having insights and ahas and shifting my mindset when I'm in a group setting. And I think that most of us don't necessarily invest in ourselves to have that experience. And most of it, I think the majority of people may do individual therapy, but they're not going to do group therapy. If they are not 99 self employed people, they probably don't have a coach or be part of a group mastermind thing. And I'm just struck from my own experience being a part of your things and leading groups is how different that experience is. And I think that around topics of perfectionism is a perfect example of that because I know when I'm sitting with people who I have come to really adore and
Mhm.
just enjoy and I agonize in their pain and angst to see them be tripped up about something they're being so hard on themselves about being perfectionistic that it shifts something in me so differently than if I'm just looking at my own shit all the time and trying to make sense of that. So somehow I'm connect in my mind, I'm connecting those dots about not only just our relationship with growth in general, but in particular around perfectionism and how that's so much easier to see when you're with others than it is to always see it within ourselves.
Most definitely.
I may be leaning a little too heavy on the taking it back to a group thing, but I am struck by, especially with uh, perfectionism, that I do think that that is because we're hard on ourselves about our own perfectionistic stuff, but it is a particularly easy thing to notice when somebody else is tripping up all over it themselves.
Yeah, and there's definitely something there. There's all kinds of things out there about the things we say to ourselves, we would never in a million years say to somebody else, even our worst enemy. And some of my
Yeah.
self-talk, ooh, harsh. And or
Yeah.
the expectations I set for myself. I would never expect anybody else to live up to those expectations. And there is something powerful and beautiful but yet, when somebody else says something and about what they're struggling with or their own expectations of themselves, it's easy for me to have empathy for them and to see the bigger picture. And we're all doing the best we can with where we're at and the situation we're working on, whatever it is. And in doing that, it allows me to also look at myself of where am I being a little harsh, sometimes a lot
Mhm.
harsh, but where am I being a little extra harsh with myself? And when somebody else shares something makes me brave enough to share something of my own, maybe that I am being harsh on myself with, and then people are able to reflect back to me something gentler, a different perspective, a different approach
Mm,
that allows me to just, I mean, even if we can soften towards ourselves just the tiniest bit, it makes the biggest difference. A lot of our conversations, I mean, I've shared a lot of things with you, and you come back with some things I'm like, thank you. I really needed that. I've been beating myself up about whatever it is. And you're able to offer perspective that I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not that horrible.
well, I'll tell you
Maybe
when you aren't.
I know. And that's
Yeah,
part of why I trust you when you tell me I'm not that horrible. Cause then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second,
there you
right there. Let's revisit that. Fine. Um, but
yeah,
that is the power of having somebody else reflect back to us, there is beautiful power in a group. There's something we're not meant to do this life alone. We never
no,
were. I mean, all started in groups and communities. That was the only way we survived, hundreds and thousands of years ago. And to think that we need to be the be all end all for ourselves and do it all in our
mm,
own little vacuum, it's just not true. It's not
and we
meant
have
to
to
be.
do it perfectly. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, what's perfect? I don't, whatever. I don't know.
yeah.
So,
So I think though that the perfection piece, like I'm curious, you listeners, I want you to chime in on this. Dang it, because I know what Nicole and I think about this, but I want to know what you think because I it is easier for me to identify the tasky part of my life, the doing where I'm perfectionistic. So, for example, creative stuff, video, editing, photography, my writing. Oh my God, I agonize over marketing comments or social media posts, all that stuff. The doing piece, easy for me to identify where I'm super perfectionistic. What's harder for me sometimes to have the self awareness is when I am putting that kind of pressure and expectation on myself on a more interpersonal, emotional life, relationships. But I am wildly hard on myself, as I think most of us are in our relationships, in the thing I
oh,
said or didn't say or should have said, or how I said it, or the conversations I'm avoiding, and how I just feel like as these episodes stack up, it's like, oh, it goes back to this theme and that theme and all the other things about flow and alignment and all of that.
mhm,
But it's funny to me that when we started this conversation 15 minutes ago or whatever, I was thinking perfectionistic in the doing part of my life. And
right,
as we're having this conversation, I realized that the more challenging piece, which goes back to first grade Nancy wanting the teacher to like me best, is that people pleasing piece. Like the idea that I don't ever want to hurt somebody's feelings or get hurt. And the reality is, if you're in relationship with people, you're going to hurt people's feelings.
it
Like you're
happens.
not always going to do it perfect. You're not always going to say every hard conversation is not going to go the way you imagined it and scripted it and thought it through so that you could do it just perfectly. Like, where do we get that idea that um somehow living that way more perfect life will avoid hurt and pain or disappointment or not being teacher's pet?
Yeah. Life is
And
about
we
con
64, do I still give a shit about that? Does everybody
some
care about that still? I mean, I care about it less now, I do have to say, in this chapter of my life than I have at other times, but it kinda
I
depends on the relationship too.
Yeah, do I care about it less with the random person in the grocery store? Yeah, I could give a rip about that. Do I care
Yes.
about it more with my personal relationships with the people that I really care about? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it depends, and that is where it gets sticky.
Mm, yeah. Do
So
you feel like you can ask me the same question here in a second, but do you feel like you have a different higher bar around perfectionism in your work life than you do maybe in other parts of your life?
I'm gonna say in my work life, it's more quantifiable. Like, it's the parameters, like, especially relative to real estate. How well did I market that property, or how well did I
Mhm.
negotiate? It feels like the lanes are more defined, and, then you have the balance. Did you get the property for your client? Did you get it sold? There's more. Whereas when we're talking about relationships, any kind of relationship, you know,
Sure.
sp kids, friends, all of those things, it's harder to define that. So I would say I'm harder on myself because there's just a whole lot more that goes, and there's all the emotion that goes into it.
Yeah.
Um, you I'm dealing with my client's emotions, but not so much my own. Whereas when
Yeah.
I'm dealing with my relationships, my own emotions are involved,
Yeah.
and it's different. It's trickier.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And what just fuels that? And
Uh,
what are the different stories we can tell ourselves about that inclination? Like, I think believing and trusting that I am enough and not too much.
yeah. You're
'Cause it
perfect.
goes both ways.
Yeah.
I'm either not enough or too much, but just having some of that self-acceptance and believing you are worthy and good and aligned to what matters to you, your core values, whatever, and that's sort of your compass, I think eases some of those other stories about not being good enough, always needing to prove yourself, make
Mhm.
the teacher like you, make your
Yeah.
client like you.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, by nature, I am conflict avoidant. I do not enjoy conflict. I know there are some people that do, and or they just it's part of it, and they view it as an incredibly creative time. Ugh. Like, I can do conflict in my work, but that's not really that's, like, just negotiating or things like, but conflict in a relationship, ugh, freaks me out,
Yeah.
makes me hyperventilate. So, pair that with perfection, but there's gonna be conflict. You cannot have a long-term relationship with somebody and not have conflict or differences of opinion, and that is something I still work on trying to, like, recognize or make peace with in my own mind of conflict at times is inevitable, and sometimes conflict is necessary to create or get to that next level. But where does that fit in with my desire to not have conflict and to want to get it right, be perfect, all the things? How could I be perfect if somebody's upset with me? Right?
Mm,
It's tricky.
super tricky. So possible non sequitur, but totally ties into this a little bit. I went go-kart racing this last week.
Was it?
So fun. And I sucked at it. So the first race, there were 5 of us in our group, and it was all family. And I came in a distant 5th out of 5. And I thought I was gonna be really good. Like, I had dreamt of, like, doing the course where you go to a race track and actually learn how to be a race car driver. I think I'm a pretty aggressive driver. I can be in moments. I mean, selectively, not all the time just driving around town. I thought I was gonna be great. I sucked. 4th time or the 2nd time, sorry, there were 4 of us, and I was way closer to the 3rd place, but, like, my time got way better, but I still came in last. And it was really interesting to see what triggered for me. Like, this is supposed to be play.
You're trying to run people off the road and
And well, it's not bumper cars, so you're not supposed
okay.
to be bump hitting people, although there
Uh-huh.
were a few rear ending. But it was interesting to me about how, in the name of play, I got super competitive, which didn't that part didn't surprise me. And it's with my brother and my kid. And I mean, like, of course we're all being competitive with each other. But I really had to check myself about being pissed at myself for being so
Mhm.
bad at it. And that surprised me. Like, it's one thing to be, kind of amused and laugh it off, which I think was
The
how I
game, like,
responded.
just for
It's a
fun.
game. Like,
There's no
it's fun. It's supposed to be
but
entertainment.
now you're not perfect at go-kart racing.
I just sucked. And I don't tend to do things that I suck at.
I know, I think we should I don't either. We should all do more of it, actually. I think it'd probably be good
Yeah.
for us.
Maybe you and I should go-kart racing.
Okay,
Ooh, we'll
let's
have
do it.
somebody come videotape it just to show people how competitive we can be. No, but anyway,
Let's
but it was just interesting to me, sort of again in that world of perfectionism, about even in a context in my life where I would not like. There's a difference between the being competitive, like that's fine, and but
yeah,
the voices that I had to sort of pay attention to, and I didn't. It's not like it took me down some shame rabbit hole for days. But I was just aware, sort of while we were there and the rest of that day,
mhm,
just going, wow, that was a little hard for me to just let go of the fact that I wasn't great at this.
yeah.
The other piece with that, because I think this ties in with the perfectionism stuff, especially in our very, I told you I had a lot of things I've been thinking about this stuff, because we also live in a world of such like immediate gratification. Like I had not driven like real go-karts where they go like 40 miles an hour ever. Like the only ones I've ever done is, the ones that are like at the amusement park at the ocean kind of thing. And those you don't go very fast and there isn't a lot of that. I mean, there's not a lot of range to suck at it or not. So why would I think the first time doing something that I would be great at it? And why would I go to
I
that
would great at it.
well, yes, it could go either way. Like, why wouldn't I be great? But why would I think I'd be great? Like, and why do I have attachment to either of those?
All great questions. Yeah.
I know all about, like, I tell you, you could put me in a cardboard box and I would come out 20 minutes later with such ahas and insight. Like, send me to the go kart races and I have good grist for the mill for days of like just fascinating about
No,
the stuff that goes on in our head and where we go with that emotionally and energetically and where do we like attach to it and get locked up. I
yeah.
mean, there are other times in my life I could have, a week later sort of still been kind of telling myself what a dumb shit I
Yeah.
was.
But by my whole year, because I failed at go-kart racing. I wasn't perfect at go-kart racing. Who am I to have any goals and reach for anything for the rest of the year? I'll see you
I'm
next
done.
year.
I'm just
Peace
done.
out.
But
Yeah.
even in
I've
work,
gone down
like,
that same rabbit hole. That's the only reason I
yeah,
can say that. I
but
messed up. Forget it. I'm out.
But we have to try new things and give
Yeah.
ourselves permission to
It's what
not
it's
always be perfect at it out of the gate.
yes.
And if any of you out there are in the greater Seattle area and you would like to go through the experience, you know, just living this and want to go-kart racing with me, I think you should reach out because I clearly want to get better at it because it is really fun.
You're already planning the rematch for
I know,
next health.
totally. I can't just, yeah, anyway.
No, I do
Not
the
to
same.
not to beat that metaphor to a, dead horse here, but I did think it was really interesting in very real time at this moment in my life with all the wisdom and insight of the decades that I still.
No, I do the same. I was talking with somebody
Yep.
the other day, swimmer, and they were like asked me about my swim, and I was like, "Oh, it's this, it's that," and I said, and sometimes I race people. I'm like, they don't know we're racing, but I do. Um, so, but of course, I pick the people to race that I think I can beat. I'm not going to try and pick somebody that I know is going to kick my butt. Again, they don't know we're racing. It's all in my head.
Did I know you swim?
I don't know. You do now. I think so. Yeah. No, I'm a swimmer. That's my thing.
Did you swim competitively?
In high school, I'm not a fast athlete in anything, right? I'm active and I do things, but you're not going to want to pick me for whatever the sporting activity is if you're trying to win. But yeah, I swim. That's my thing.
Yes. You should go in the cold water sometime to swim.
No,
Maybe not so much. I
we'll see.
swim like from the beach to the where the end of the dock is. It's, I don't know, like a matter of yards. It's not very far. But it does make the time go faster when you're in 50-degree temperature. Just
We covered a lot in this episode.
we did. I think
Yeah.
some good grist for the mill. One of the ahas that I'm taking from this conversation, to be honest, is uh that I think my relationship with perfectionism is very different in the doing part of my life versus the
Sure.
being part of my life. And I think that will
Very
be
good.
the source of much journaling to come.
Okay. Stay tuned for
Yeah.
future.
Not that I'm going to read you my journal, but so if you are finding yourself thinking about the ways that you are perfectionistic and want to share that with us, please do. Or if you have questions or if you have topics for other stuff you think we should talk about, other stories that you're telling yourself that you're curious if other people are doing the same thing, let us know. Like, subscribe, share, leave a review, comments, tell all your friends. We're just getting going here.
Totally.
See you on the